It's Talk Funny, a podcast by Mark Bailey and other comics from all over. We ended up in Japan because we were recommended to try eating the delicacies of offal, but it tastes and smells awful. The Talk Funny podcast from NagoyaRadio.com and Nagoya Comedy. Here's Mark Bailey.
Mark Bailey, Mike Miller, back on Talk Funny. So, Mike, I teach at some higher institutions of learning.
Are they aware of that?
I actually don't teach, I just work there. And so I have some petty complaints from Japanese teachers about foreigners. I know for a fact I never hear about Japanese teachers complaining about other Japanese teachers.
No.
But I've had one at one university where I think I had one little speck of marker on the whiteboard. When I erased it, these things leak, so it's probably something like that. I get a phone call. First period, I teach in one classroom. Second period, a different classroom. And some wiry Japanese guy walked all the way. It's like a quarter of a mile to go to the office from my classroom, seriously. And he walked all the way over there to complain. And so then they called me up, and they said, we've had a claim that you didn't erase the whiteboard.
A complaint.
And I said, well, my eyes aren't that good, and it looked clean to me. And so they said, well, you have to be careful in the future, blah, blah. And I said, when I was there, were the erasers stolen? Does the teacher know how to solve that? Like, if you walk in, it's happened to me. I walk in, Blackboard has some message on it. I erase it.
Especially if it says, please do not erase. That's when you erase it.
Of course. No, but it'll say something like, it'll be September.
Test tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll say, tomorrow's test is canceled, or, it's just
tomorrow's class is canceled.
Some
Nothing
crap,
meaningful.
And so if I walk in, I see some Japanese written on the board, then I say, good, I just don't use my lesson plan. Translate this into English. That's your task. Just do it at the end of class. No, but I just erase it, and I don't call anyone because I know how to use an eraser because I'm a grown-ass man, Mike.
Yeah.
And I don't bitch about things that don't matter. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, he complained, and so then I thought about it, and I know, me, I just usually let things go, don't I?
Oh, always.
When things
it's just cool as a cucumber,
When
Mark.
things bother me,
you just
I let
go
it go
with the flow. Go with the
flow. I don't think about it. It doesn't go round and round in my head and become a bit and become on the podcast.
You don't wake up at 4 a.m. thinking about it with your heart racing? No.
I don't make a screaming closer out of it.
No, not at all.
I let it go. So about a week goes by, and I'm thinking, man, that's a passive-aggressive kind of thing to do, is complain about that. Just one little speck. You know how to use an eraser. Don't you feel like a pussy just complaining about it? Isn't that embarrassing? You're a grown man complaining about another grown man. He left some ink on the whiteboard. So I decided next time, kind of Larry David-ish, I might or might not have accidentally on purpose learn how to erase. And left that on the board. He went to the office again. I got another phone call. And he said that you left some words on the board. I'm like, words? Where? On the whiteboard. Words on a whiteboard in a classroom? God, help us. Oh, my God, that should never happen. And she goes, well, you should erase it when you finish. And I said, well, actually, I didn't use the whiteboard. Oh, you didn't? No. Well, then who did?
Plot twist.
Who did? I said, well, it's a Monday morning class. Did you have a makeup class maybe in that room on a Saturday? Or like the last guy that taught on Friday? And she goes, what am I supposed to do? Like call every teacher that's ever used that room? And I said, yeah, I think you should.
Instead of calling me.
Yeah, and she said, you know how much work that's going to be? And I said, yeah, but you called me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my suggestion. So
and I'm sure you weren't doing anything productive when they called and wasted your time.
No. But they did. They called every teacher. And I said, here's the thing you don't understand.
God.
Here's the thing you don't understand. These rooms aren't locked. The markers are laying right there. Any student can write whatever they want.
And students will.
They write hearts and stuff, and they're writing their names, and they're drawing maps and stuff. I am not responsible. Am I supposed to stand by that classroom all day?
Some students will study in the room, like when there's no classes.
I have that classroom for 90 minutes. Am I my classroom's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper? Atheists always laugh at that joke.
Do not complain about the log in your classroom's eye.
Exactly.
How many more biblical expressions can we make?
So this happened today, where I also accidentally left some words on the board. This is at a different university, and then they called, and they said, "Yeah, the fourth period teacher complained because there was something written on there from third period." And I said, "Can I talk to him? Because I can teach him how to erase something. You see the orange thing with the soft, fluffy? You can actually watch this, and I would do this in front of your class." And she said, "Well, it's the problem." I said, everybody's talking about it. CNN. I mean, that's the only thing in the newspaper. You open a newspaper up. Why can't foreigners erase a board?
Exactly.
Yeah. Nobody's talking about the debate.
Exactly.
Nobody's talking about
No.
U.S. sub pops up in Norway.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about Ukraine. Everybody's talking about Mike and Mark and their blackboards and their whiteboards. It's obviously the biggest problem. It's never happened before.
They think about the whiteboard, and right away they accuse the white man. I'll tell you.
Exactly. I'll come up and I'll erase it for you. By the way, there's these short women, and they come in after a fourth period, and they're called cleaning ladies, and they actually clean the board. So, thanks for calling. Any grasshoppers get crushed on the way? On my way. Any other complaints? Something
There were a
about
few
the lighting?
ants. There were a few ants you stepped on your way to the classroom. So
Any? How's my breath?
yeah.
All right, you were telling me foreigners are getting charged more food.
There's been a couple of
Japan?
proposals. There was a restaurant, I think it was in Nikko, that was charging foreign tourists more, and they claimed that this was only for tourists. And then there's also been some talk about different tourist attractions in Japan trying to cut the number of tourists by raising the rates for foreigners. Because you've been to Thailand, right?
Yeah.
So at some museums they have like a rate for Thai citizens, and then there's a rate for foreigners. Sure. So now they're talking about this in Japan.
Prices and menus.
Because Japan now with the yen going into the toilet, they want to make more money, I guess. What do you think, Mark? I'm sure you have no opinions about this,
so Japan,
but I'll let you talk first.
I don't know if I'm... You think, give me a second. Okay, I know. I think, Japan, they always kind of considered themselves equal to Thais. So it's very fair, especially during World War II, especially when they go to Thailand and the Japanese businessmen have Japanese-only Thai brothels.
Hello,
they're pretty much
Patreon.
the same. They're pretty, and so they've always been hand in hand and equal and simpatico with Thailand. So them adopting a Thai policy wouldn't be just to benefit Japan, just to be racist.
Well, apparently they have it in Singapore too, I've heard, but I don't know. I don't remember that. I haven't been to Singapore in years.
They have it in Egypt as well.
In Egypt. When Egypt is known for treating tourists incredibly well, they really love Egypt. They want to go back all the time.
The ones that actually leave Egypt have raving reviews about the ones that escape the attacks. But I went to Egypt, and I can read some Arabic, and I recommend you learn, not that hard, to learn the numbers.
And you could see the tourist menu and the local menu, right?
So to get into a museum is double for foreigners, double for English speakers, and than it is for Egyptians and Arab speakers. And I said 2 tickets. It's supposed to be about $3 Arab reading price, and it's $10 for 2, to $5 each for tourists. He said it'll be $10, and I said no, but I can see it says $3 here in Arabic. And he said, yeah, but you don't speak Arabic. And I said, I don't? He said, what I meant was you're a tourist. And I said in Arabic, I'm a tourist?
Mind games.
Ben Safra? But you're not from Egypt, right? And I said, I'm not from Egypt? He said, you know what? He said, we usually would charge tourists. I assumed you were a tourist. But have you been here before? Did they charge you less before? And I said, yes, they did. They charged me less before. So me and my wife.
But then when you said brother, then he really knew. Oh, I better let him in because he's angry.
My brother. I am not. And he said, and at the end, he said, I'm sorry. I just assumed you're a tourist, but we'll give you the native price. And then what he didn't ask was, you're not Jewish, are you? Haggling over a price.
Come on, in Egypt they do it too. It's not just a Jewish thing. So there's a lot of haggling going on.
At the end, he did say, "No hard feelings. I'm really sorry, but I'm told to do this. I'm told to do this for tourists." And I said, "It's okay. By the time I'm back in New York, I'll forget all about it." I got you.
Oh, you got him.
But yeah, Egypt is weird. You can do this in Japan. You can walk in. That's interesting. Orange juice can. They have orange juice in a can. That's interesting. I wonder what percentage. You just pick it up, right? And you'll look at it, and you read the ingredients. How much is sugar is like 100%, and where was this made, and blah blah blah. and then you put it back and you don't buy it. You can't do that in Egypt. You
Oh,
touch
really?
it,
You buy it. I see.
And we had some orange Fanta or something.
I guess because they have a lot of theft, right? So,
yeah. Orange Fanta, and as soon as I grabbed the Fanta, geez, it must have been worth 50 cents in Egypt. Immediately, the clerk comes by and he goes, "You're buying this?" I said, "No, I'm looking at it." He said, "No look, only buy." But you touch. So, 50, I forget the conversion. It's basically 50 cents. And I said, "But I don't want to buy this one. I was looking at it, and we'd rather get this one." And he said, "But you can get both." And he said, "For one price?" "No, for each price." "But if you touch that one, you're paying for that one." I'm like, "I can't just put it back and buy nothing?" And he goes, "It's not a museum."
Oh my God! So this kombini problem happens in Egypt too.
Yeah.
This goes long, long before you ever came to Japan. No, well, you were in Japan at that point. You were there with your wife, right?
So
wow,
what I'm trying to say is
the legend.
Convenience store owners all over the world are a-holes. A-holes. I think that's what I'm getting at.
Mark is banned around the world from how many convenience stores is he banned from? Any in New York? Any bodegas that just won't let you in anymore?
It was called in Egypt. That's what it's called. So, but he explained to me later. If you ask, that's a good thing about Egypt and parts of the Middle East. You can just keep saying, "Why? Why? But why?" And they'll tell you. Because many people, they grab a bottle and they run. And I'm an old man, and my knee hurts. I can't chase you. Now I just gave away a bottle. So I don't want people touching things. And he's talking about his native Egyptians, right? I said, "But tourists don't do that." And he goes, "Well, yeah, Albanians."
The Albanians. It's always the Albanians. The poor Albanians.
You go to
That's Greece, man. Every crime was committed by an Albanian.
Even
in
in
Greece,
New York. Even in New York, I'm walking through Greek town. I'm walking through Greek town in Brooklyn.
Are you Albanian?
I'm walking through Greek town, and I said, "Where's a good gyro that I can get a good gyro?" And they said, "Any place here." And I said, "But I had a gyro like across the street. It was not good." I said, "It's run by Albanians." You go to the moon. And
I fell in a crater. Oh, an Albanian must have pushed you.
Must have digged that. I lost my glove on the moon. Some Albanian probably took it. You lost it. You dropped it on the moon, on the surface, on the floor, on the ground. Yeah, you did. If you go back, it won't be there because Albanian took it. In Italy, it's the gypsies.
Yeah, Romani. The Romani. But I mean, there are groups of Romani that do hang outside of like train stations, like Roma Termini there, and I was nearly robbed by one of the women with the baby trick. They throw the baby in your face. So but I mean, that's not all. That's not all of them, and they're not the only people committing crimes in Italy.
Some of them are sleeping.
It's like they're the only people committing crime in Italy because there's no other crimes going on in Italy. What? You're saying there's crime families in Italy?
Mike,
What's going on?
It's not all the gypsies that are stealing. They have to sleep sometimes. So it's not always all of them.
Everybody's got to be somewhere.
They got to be somewhere. Yeah, in Italy it's Romani, and then in Britain it's the Welsh.
Really, the Welsh they blame, but they have travelers too. They have their own like gypsy population, right? The travelers that they blame for.
But they blame the Welsh for lying. So you tell a story and say, "Really?" Because I heard that you could have like all you can eat fish and chips if you get the quiz right at certain bars. They said, "No, the Welsh guys." They say that, but there was never a contest like that. There was never a contest like that anywhere in the UK. I'm sure somebody thought of that. I mean, why don't you try it? They said it's a Welsh dream.
A Welsh dream. Oh, no wonder they all love each other in the UK so much. No wonder the Welsh love the Irish. Love the English. I mean,
you ever read Reader's Digest? It's very hokey, but a lot of hokey jokes.
Oh, this is so hokey. Reader's Digest.
They used to. That's where they got the stereotype. They couldn't say Jews, so they would say Scotsmen or the cheapest people. But you go to Scotland, I went to Glasgow, and they say Welsh.
Really?
Yeah, Welsh are the cheapest.
I have great memories of when I was in Glasgow because I had two guys that I'd never met before who bought me a Guinness. They never met me before, and I just said, "I'm from Canada." We got talking. They bought me a Guinness, so I was like, "Wow." All this talk about Scots being cheap, I don't know. That's not everybody.
There may be more Scotsmen in Nagoya than I know of, but I know of 5 of them. They're all great. They buy me beers. They buy me coffee. We buy each other coffee and beer. We work with each other. They'll give me a ride to the station if we're leaving the school at the same time. We never leave early. We always leave at exactly the same time because we're on time. We leave at ending time. By the way, it was earlier in the year. Did you see Jiminy Glick tear Bill Maher a new a-hole?
I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't watch the whole thing. But I thought it was well deserved.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Because if anyone deserves that, it's Bill Maher. Yeah, completely.
Jiminy Glick, who, of course, Martin Short is a comedy genius. And he's just, it's like improv. He mastered it. So I don't usually like improv, but it does help you with comebacks and callbacks.
He's great at that. In him and Steve Martin, they have a great chemistry, and they tour together, and they do like a two-man show, basically.
Great
right?
Netflix show.
Yeah.
A couple of things with Jiminy Glick interviewing Bill Maher. He said, so, Bill, you have a new book coming out, and that's a dying industry. So what's next for you? Like maybe a video with Blockbuster?
It's good. It's good.
And he said, so, Bill, you talk about how hard it is to be a successful comedian. So who did you ask about that? Hilarious thing was he's holding Bill Maher's book, which is just a rehash of all of his monologues. I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to buy that. I already watched. Why? I watch every week. I've seen your monologues.
Yeah, as a great comedian once said, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis. Why?
I saw your monologue the first time. I definitely don't want to reread it a second time.
Yeah. But this is revolutionary. You can take all of your jokes and publish them in a book.
Okay.
But you kind of know now there's this thing called YouTube. And most of your monologues, if you're doing them on your show, are probably already up on YouTube that you can watch if you wanted to. But, I don't know. Maybe some people haven't thought of that yet. I don't know.
This is the best part. Martin Short, Jiminy Glick, he goes, so, Bill, you like the pot. You like to smoke the pot. Can you repeat what I just told you? And then he held Bill Maher's book in his hand, and he goes, so this is your book. I've never read it, and I never will. And he just paused it. And you can see Bill Maher, his eyes got big. Like, how dare you on my show?
Oh, great. Guess who's not going to be on Real Time again?
No. And then
a lot of people have not come back because they spoke up against him.
And Jiminy Glick said, what are you going to do? It's my show. I really wish Jiminy Glick had the show. But, it's exhausting for him to do that.
He's got to put on that makeup and the fat suit, the writing.
And just constantly, He said, so, Bill, how did you become a comedian? So Bill starts telling a story, and then Jiminy Glick is nodding off,
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
I like it. It's great. He pushed all the right buttons, basically, to get Bill Maher really angry.
And he said, Bill, I never heard you talk about this, but are you interested in getting married? Because you never talk about it. Because that's all he talks about.
And do you like weed by any chance? Because you never talk about that either.
Let's talk about the young people, because I don't know what you think about them.
You never talk about them. There's a guy who will never be roasted on Comedy Central. I don't think Bill Maher will never be roasted on Comedy Central. Well, he won't accept it, right? He has too big an ego. I think he's got too big an ego.
His audience now, and even me, when I laugh at his jokes, it's just because, wow, how pretentious. It's like you're playing a character.
Yeah.
It's like he is.
Okay.
It's like he is Jiminy Glick.
Yeah.
But he doesn't think he's Jiminy Glick.
Mm-hmm.
Jiminy Glick is a character, and Martin Short knows why it's funny.
Right.
But Bill Maher doesn't know he's funny when he's a pretentious agent.
Yeah. And he's got, I'll say this about Bill Maher. We've talked about him on previous podcasts, and he's got good writers, and he's had the same writers for 20 years or something. Yeah. And a lot of them are quite talented, but it's just his persona sometimes just takes over, and you're just like, oh, come on, man. And you notice sometimes he gets laughs, but sometimes he gets claps. He's getting a lot of claps recently, and you're like, that's not comedy. And that's telling people what they want to hear, so they're going to clap. That's not comedy.
Also, the clapter
good way of putting it.
Doesn't even mean they agree with him. They're just like, okay, I don't like that, but okay.
Yeah.
Because he goes off on his woke audience. His
audience is not woke. There's not a single woke person who watches Bill Maher, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I'll give you an example.
Because he hates them, and they don't like him particularly much.
I'll give you an example. He came out and he said, the FBI director, Colby, what's his name?
That's the
Trump
old
fired
one.
him?
Yeah, I think that was him, yeah.
Colby. He said, Colby just got fired. Everybody clapped.
Really?
Yeah, because Colby, they blame him for right before the election.
Oh, the release of the emails and all that.
So they hate him. But Colby hates Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bill Maher said, no, Colby got fired by Trump.
Then they clapped again?
Then he clapped again. They didn't understand.
He was just like, who turned on that applause sign too early?
Yeah, they didn't understand.
Yeah.
It's like...
I love it. That's awesome. It's like The Simpsons, with Mayor Quimby.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
What was it, the police chief? Hey, his father,
Yeah, Officer Quimby. No, Officer.
officer or something. And then Lisa Simpson stands up to him and she goes, people aren't going to take police corruption anymore. They're not going to take it, and you're not going to have your job for much longer, and we're not going to put up with that anymore. And he goes, oh no, did you have a meeting? Who's saying this? Really? I'm not going to get away with it anymore? It's terrible. Mark Bailey, Mike Miller, Talk Funny.